Yes, we do. Eric Kendricks and Guy Haberman and George Kittle and Jake Tonjes and all that has led up to this journey. The divisional round goes, and I don't even know where to start as we welcome in Tim Ryan. But one thing's for sure, we did not want to finish with football hours at this time last week. So we just got to go one at a time. And before we'll get to Seattle, because that's going to be a huge, huge focus and a big revenge game after they only put up 3 points in week 18. You got to celebrate what just happened there in Philadelphia. Not an easy place to play, not easy circumstances, losing somebody like a George Kittle in the second quarter. Couple of picks for Brock Purdy, but you just got to find a way, and that's what they've done all season long.
Yeah, do right longer, right? That's the phrase up here with the 49ers. And to be able to walk off that field with that kind of victory against, oh, by the way, the defending world champion Philadelphia Eagles in their house. I mean, it feels good to, and I love this team on the road. 8-2 on the road this year. They have been outstanding. There's something about being on the road. Let me just start with this. And I was talking to Jair Brown about this the other day. This team, and we've said it, and it starts with the leadership at the top, Pop, and you know this because you've been around here for so long too, is this is football family style. This is a tight-knit group of men and women, a lot of girls that are obviously working, and young ladies that work within the organization that genuinely like each other, that genuinely like to spend time together on, off the field as well, and with their families and everything else. So that is so important, especially at crunch time. And Tig was like, I think it may be the most important ingredient of this football team, and how much guys really genuinely like being around each other. And when you're down in the foxhole together, man, and you're fighting, you got to trust each other. You got to, and you've got to be able to pick the other guy up when things don't go right. So I'll just start with that, because that starts at the top. It starts with Jed and goes all the way down to whoever. I'll put myself at the bottom rung of everything in terms of how people really feel about being around each other and enjoy spending time together. And you can't say that around the league, I promise you. I'm sure there's some teams that are as close, but you really can't say that, because I've been in all the buildings. I know a lot of players around the league. I know a lot of coaches around the league, and I know how it works. So that's part of it, and that's been a big impetus to why they've been able to play the way they've been able to play. And now to the game. To the second half effort by the defense and the execution of the defense. I think it's the best half of football they've played all year long when you consider the opponent, you consider the environment, you consider the replacement players that were out there that, a month ago you would have never thought that Eric Kendricks was going to be wearing the green dot and Garrett Wallow was going to be rolling every snap at Will Backer. Those guys played their asses off. And I think getting ready for Seattle and, having only played them just, 12 days ago or whatever it was, to have Eric Kendricks and his experience level and what he is in terms of anticipating stuff and taking stuff away, that what makes Fred Warner great. A lot of things you don't see with Fred. Certainly the television's not going to show it, and they're not going to talk about it. Taking routes away, getting underneath routes, kind of falling into places where he thinks the ball's going, taking that away. Now the quarterback's got to hold it and go somewhere else. Eric brings a wealth of experience to that position. And no indictment on Tatum Bethune, but it's hard out there as a young player trying to do, and with all the communication and then all the adjustments and then being able to execute the call. I think Eric being out there is going to be a big advantage if, in fact, Fred doesn't play. And I just read today that Fred is a game-time decision. So fingers crossed on that. We'll see if he's ready to go. I've said it all along. I'm not so sure about that. I've always kind of looked at the NFC Championship game as the target, and that is with an uneducated opinion. That's just me and thinking about what his injury is. Had a great conversation with George Kittle about 15 minutes ago. So we'll be very fired up to see George here in the next couple of days, and losing him is going to be absolutely huge. I'll tell you what, man, for the team to be able to respond the way that they did, and obviously it's nothing new for them this year with the injuries they've had to endure with their best players. And it's going to take a more consistent effort against Seattle. The offense came out, you said it, and drive number one, bang, right down the field. Demarcus Robinson, wow, what can you say? And the play calling and the execution. But then there was in between the first drive and really the last drive, there was another good drive that they were able to finally get juice going and got the ball down the field. Remember the reverse pass, which how CMC tracked that ball and was able to catch it. And really how Juwan was able to throw it with Jalen Carter getting ready to blow him up. I was talking to Mac Jones on the flight home. Mac said, I was trying to throw that ball in that corner of the end zone in pregame. I couldn't make it work. And he goes, I really couldn't make it work with the way the wind was just howling coming into that from that open air into the stadium. He goes, and when Juwan threw that, I was like, no, and this is Mac, no way. And somehow, some way, he put the ball up in the jet stream, and it grabbed it, and CMC was able to, and it dropped in, and CMC was able to make that adjustment. But other than that drive and the first drive, there was really not a lot going in that game offensively. They were having challenges. Now, Philadelphia deserves a lot of credit. They are one hell of a defense. And I think the number one scoring defense since they got Jalen Phillips in the trade deadline. And what Vic does, you're going to have to earn everything. And there's going to be a lot of that this week in terms of just earning every yard offensively. But to be able to put that 11-play drive together at the end and finish it with CMC on that little angle route and coming back to the inside, that was probably Brock's third read on the play. And he buys some time and steps up and delivers a strike. It just the resiliency that this team has shown all year long. And it's pure adrenaline now. Short week, the opportunity to go play these guys when you lost really everything in the brawl for it all as the number one seed. There's something, and I'm sure Kyle wasn't holding anything back. That game was for the number one seed, but I can almost – in my gut, promise you there's going to be some wrinkles in this one that did not get unloaded in that Week 18 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks defense, who are absolutely fantastic at how they play the game.
Well, it's our favorite hour of the week, and I was going to say that we got so much to get into, but I think where we got to start when we come on back is the Sky Bang reverse pass, the play that saved the season, or as Papa dubbed it yesterday,
Sky Rizzy.
Sky
Rizzy. Bringing the Riz.
So let's come on back.
So good.
Did Steve Rizzer throw that pass? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
He's always bringing the Riz. Whether he threw the pass or not, he's bringing the Riz.
808 KNBR is the number. We got Tim Ryan in the house for the next 50 minutes or so. So let's start this party. It's Papa and Silver on the Sports Leader.
Now, from the O'Donnell Financial Group Sports Desk. Learn more at ODFIGroup.com. O'Donnell Financial Group, because planning is a process, not a product.
49ers legendary running back Frank Gore, he joined Murph and Marcus this morning to break down how difficult it is to win a playoff game in Seattle and what the 49ers need to do this weekend to come out victorious. Check out that podcast and more on the Sports Leader app and thesportsleader.com.
Tim Ryan's Bull Rush continues with Papa and Silver on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Brock Purdy under center. He's got Christian McCaffrey behind him. Sky Moore in motion. It's a trick play. They give it to Moore. Now flip to Juwan Jennings. End around. Jennings throws it to McCaffrey. And he's got it! McCaffrey caught it for the touchdown! Touchdown! 49ers! But a flag is down near the backfield. What a throw by Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, flag was down in the backfield because Jalen Carter had a free shot at Juwan Jennings, everybody's favorite instigator who at one time was recruited as a dual threat quarterback, ranked ahead in the high school class of a Lamar Jackson, a Joe Burrow, and a Sam Darnold. And of course, none of that matters now in the context of the divisional round because
Sam
49ers
also
have
played
Brock
middle
Purdy.
linebacker in high school too. So
there you go. Right. Bottom line is, if you're going to be a professional athlete, you're probably really good at high school sports.
Probably.
There you go.
Yeah, that's.
Man, that play, the wind, and I do want to get your perspective on this because we broke this down in the playbook yesterday with Papa, but we talked so much leading into the Cleveland game about the wind and the conditions and how Purdy was going to be able to handle that. And going against a rookie like Shedeur Sanders, how comparable was the wind in Philadelphia pregame when you were down there?
Worse.
Wow.
Much worse. And I think it was, we were actually in Pop, you know where the booth is in that stadium. We weren't getting the wind. It was colder in the booth in Cleveland. And just because of the way the wind was blowing, the windows are open. But I just kept the sweatshirt on the whole game. It was not cold in the booth because we were somehow shielded from where the direction that wind was coming. Down on the field, much worse in Philadelphia. And people that were on the field that throughout the game, I talked to them, a couple of them were like, man, I can't take it. I'm going to have to go sit on this heated bench here for a little while. Like, it was bad. And the tent almost got blown out of the stadium.
Saw that.
That wind was absolutely cooking. What I loved about that play was, we don't see a lot of jet sweeps out of the 49er offense. And they had just run one on the drive before, maybe just a couple of plays earlier to Sky Moore that ended up maybe a 3 or a 4 yard gain. But to get in and then dial it up again, I thought was pretty awesome because they attached the reverse to it and then clearly caught Reed Blankenship, stopping at the comma of the sentence, not going all the way to the period because there was something else attached to the reverse. So he comes with the motion there, and then there's the look with Sky Moore, and then just inside the 30, you're going to see Reed Blankenship. And when they get in a 4-man front, that being Philadelphia, they're going to end up in a lot of cover 3. And when you watched them on tape and you charted them, they're going to be in a lot of 3 deep looks if they're in a 4-man front. That's exactly what the 49ers get here. So, in reality, Reed Blankenship's in charge of the flat. He has got the flat over there. And you're going to see McCaffrey's already headed out, and he takes the bait that the reverse is coming, and he bites just enough. And if you take one false step against Christian McCaffrey and he can hit the afterburners, he's gone. And that was the indecisiveness right there. And I thought it was really a good job of Juwan selling the run for about 3 steps, that he was running the football. And then just as he gets inside the numbers, you can see right there as on the freeze that Blankenship knows he's in trouble. And then now you let the play continue. He's able to go by him. The deep middle safety cannot get there soon enough. The wind certainly helped push that ball away from the deep middle safety. But what an adjustment. And most guys aren't going to make that reception. And I talked to Christian. I said, were you just standing in the end zone like, yeah, that's what I do? Or were you standing in the end zone without celebrating, waiting for the penalty to be clarified or what the penalty goes? Oh, there's no question. I was just waiting for the penalty. You saw right when I saw that it was on them, I spiked the holy hell out of the football. And I said, was that, that to me was a great catch, the ability to track the ball. But is that just a routine catch? He goes, no, I'll be honest with you. That was a great catch. That was a tough catch to make. And again, I think Juwan setting it all up held Reed Blankenship just enough where he was indecisive and was stuck in a classic conflict. And then watch Juwan sell it when he gets it. We'll run it one more time here with Sky's going to come in the motion. He's going to yo-yo back, going to get the football. And then he flips it to Juwan. And then watch Juwan sell the run long enough. So there he goes back across the formation. There's the jet. And Juwan tucks it. You see him tuck it?
Like he's running the ball.
He's running
reverse.
the ball.
Yeah.
It is a reverse, and that's the
for a
whole
loss of 6 at that.
Well, he would have cut inside and got 4.
Yeah.
That is the whole sell right there. And then as soon as he pulls it, now Blankenship knows, oh crap, I'm in trouble. And CMC, and then look at the wind just take that ball. Look at like the last 10 yards of that ball. It had to go 4 feet in the last 10 yards to the right over the shoulder of McCaffrey. And being able to track that and then capture it, really laying out and squeezing that football. That is a Hall of Fame player making a Hall of Fame type play.
So what do you dub that? The catch, the throw, all of it. Sky bang, reverse pass.
I just like Sky Rizzy.
Sky Rizzy. It's simply one of the. If that play went down to the Super Bowl, it would be thought of as one of the great plays in the history of the National Football League. The way they set it up with the action, it looked like a run play. Dominic Pooney pulling from right guard. It's just so complicated, and it worked. Now, flash forward, because that's behind us now. Great play. Now you got to go to Seattle.
Yep.
The Niners ran a trick play against Seattle. It was a reverse flea flicker pass, if you remember. Handoff to McCaffrey. Demarcus Robinson comes back the other way. Flip it back to Brock. They ran that play over and over all week, just like they did this play. It worked against Philadelphia because Philadelphia took the bait. Seattle did not. They wound up checking down the reverse flea flicker to McCaffrey. You wanted to go deep ball down the field to either Kendrick Bourne or to George Kittle. Seattle gloved up on both. Brock stayed patient, take the check down to McCaffrey. Good play, not a legendary, historic play. How do you move? I'm watching the game back, and I know you have many times from 2 weeks earlier, T-Rock. And we'll get into stopping their run, but just start with being able to run the ball move Witherspoon, Eamon Worry out of the middle of the field the way you were there with Cooper DeJean. They also occupied Quinyon Mitchell with a Kendrick Bourne route. They got Blankenship to take the bite. How do you make, not necessarily these kind of exotic plays, but just basic football plays where you can move their guys, because they have great athletes, they have a great scheme, and they don't miss tackles. So how do you score on these guys and move the ball?
Well, you just said it. They don't miss tackles, and they broke a lot of tackles against the 49er defense in that game. 18 or 19 missed tackles just 2 weeks ago. So, look, I think you're not going to see a lot of that. I mean, Seattle will play a lot of zone, and a lot like Philadelphia, it's matchup zone. You're not going to see them in a lot of that type of stuff where they're not hipped up to somebody. They're going to go try to capture McCaffrey out of the backfield. They'll give up 4 yards on a reverse, 5 yards on a reverse before they let McCaffrey go by him. In terms of just how they play, they hunt people up, they get in their hip pockets, and they don't get caught in a lot of classic conflicts. They just don't, because of how they play. They're so aggressive out on the perimeter with their perimeter players, whoever it is. And it might be Eamon Worry sometimes. And I would not be, if that's Eamon Worry, he's not feathering that, going, oh, I got the flat, and Cooper DeJean's an all-pro player. Why is he an all-pro player? Because he's really, really smart. And they were able to trick him on that play. Seattle doesn't put themselves in a lot of predicaments in terms of just their coverage calls. They know what they're doing. They are hipping up to people. They are going to make you earn every single yard. And again, they'll live with a reverse that may pick up a few yards before they're going to give up certainly an explosive touchdown. So I think this game is going to be won or lost up front. Pop, you got to handle that front. You got to, and they twist and stunt so much. And Mike McDonald, I will give him credit. He's had a pretty good bead on what the 49ers like to do in terms of their run game and the motions. And a lot of it's changed. The 49ers are trying to keep people off their trail. I understand that by doing different things. I went back and watched the Ram game again and how the Rams got after him. And a lot of very similar concepts, right? Now, Puka Nacua is a whole different animal. I think he went for 12 for 225 in that game.
They had 581 yards of offense against Seattle.
Exactly.
How'd they do it?
Exactly. They executed and they played physical. And when you get into the playoffs, this game is all about execution. Nobody's tricking anybody in this game. I got news for you on either side of the ball. And we know Saleh's system works against this scheme, and they played great red zone defense week 18. They missed too many tackles. They gave up 6 explosive runs. This game is really going to come down to one-on-one, mano-a-mano matchups. And who's going to win the fight in tight quarters? Who's going to win the fight in the cage? The receivers, and I hope Ricky can play. Ricky was not there a couple of weeks ago with his knee. Ricky, what does Ricky do great? Ricky beats tight coverage. Ricky gets separation at the top of his routes. And that's where you've got to get it against these guys, at the top of the routes. Ricky catches the ball in the phone booth in traffic. He'll go attack it and go capture it, and he has shown that he can do that. Those plays are going to have to be made throughout this game in terms of small windows. Brock's going to have to be precise. He's going to have to make those tight throws in very small little areas, and the receivers are going to have to fight to gain a yard of separation. And a yard or two of separation in this game is going to be open. That's how good these guys are in terms of how they play defense. In order to make it all work, so it's not all just check down, they rally up and tackle like they did in the Week 18 matchup. Their tackling was outstanding. The O-line's going to have to hold up for 2.5 seconds.
I got to give our YouTube chat some love because they show up and they show out every single day. They might have the name for the play. At least I have not heard this one yet, so I'm going to give them the credit. The Philly cheese fake.
The Philly cheese fake.
Guy went to the Niners.
That's
have
good.
their own version of the Philly special, which was brilliant.
The Philly cheese fake.
Should have a
That's
Danny's
good.
Big Poll. You want Sky Rizzy or Philly cheese fake? I like that.
I mean, yeah, Danny, either we're cooking one up today or we're going to pawn that off to Cole tomorrow for a Friday
fake.
Big Poll. Football
Is that
hour
Pats
here.
or Geno's? Which one are we going with?
I don't know. None of the above. McCaffrey's Christians in honor of Walter's new child. It's Papa and Silver. We got the football hour here with Tim Ryan talking all things Philly cheesefake and what magic they're going to have to pull to get past the Seattle Seahawks team man, this defense is good. We know it. We've talked about it ad nauseum. So let's try to come up with some solutions when we come on back on the Sports Leader.
Now back to Papa and Silver and Tim Ryan's Bull Rush.
Oh, my goodness. You talk about a tidal wave rush?
This is KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Seattle's not been great on third down themselves tonight. They're only 3 for 7. This is only a one-score game. 10-3. Get back into it right now. Quick one out to Kenneth Walker. Coming wide right, 30, 35. Breaks a tackle, spins out for a first down. He converts on third. and 17.
Yeah, and we've seen this a few times in this game. It's a crack toss. 49ers get out leveraged, and linebackers get blown up. Tatum Bethune, very, very late. He ends up getting blocked by Bobo. Wallow is late to the party, and Walker makes the most of it. That is an absolute killer.
Hey, nice job, Danny and Anthony, pairing the perfect song with the least favorite play of the season, or certainly one of them, the 19-yard run on 3rd and 17 with a little Pearl Jam Black, one of the absolute best. All Seattle tunes, all bird hunting here, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. We know Seattle's defense is great. We know that they are young. We know they are athletic. We know there's not a weakness. So let's start diving into what makes them great and how the 49ers can adjust, because we know George Kittle went down. That is a major, major loss. Now, if Ricky Pearsall is able to play, that obviously changes things. See week 1, see week 18 in a lot of regards. But Brock Purdy, what made it so difficult for both Brock and Shanahan is the 49ers had 6 offensive snaps there about 20 minutes into the game clock. So Seattle's averaging 7 yards a pop in the first quarter, and the 49ers have 6 total plays. At a certain point, and you said it best, and granted, Trent Williams did not play in this game, by that third series, you could tell Brock Purdy was a little bit more uncomfortable in the protection around him.
Well, he's got to trust the protection. Any quarterback's got to trust the guys in front of him, and that Seattle group is really good, and they count a lot on their front four. And when they do send a fifth in terms of their fire zones, they're always in match zone coverage. And funnel things to the middle of the field, use those linebackers to double team and trap stuff, and then they're dropping that extra guy out because they're sending a second-level guy. They got 13.5 sacks by blitzers, second-level or third-level blitzers on the season. In comparison, the 49ers have 1, Upton Stout. And so they don't blitz a whole bunch, but when they do, it's creative. They're pick blitzes. They'll use Eman to pick off offensive linemen to free someone wrapping underneath. And then I think a big thing they do well is they're so athletic on the ends with Mafe and with DeMarcus and Derek Hall and those guys that they can disengage off blocks and get to Brock before he can cross the line of scrimmage. And we saw a few examples of that pop in the game where Brock's able to step up and then realize, okay, everyone's running hipped up, down. There's some yards. He'll take off. Those defensive ends can fall back, fall inside, and they have the foot speed to get Brock before he gets going. I think part of that is offensive linemen, just straining to sustain to stay connected. Finish those blocks. And it's hard, especially when the quarterback's scrambling and they don't know. Most of the time they know where Brock's launching from, and that's an advantage. They know where the launch point is, and they can protect accordingly. When he takes off, all bets are off. So when he takes off and the guy's trying to disengage and give ground to get ground and peel off, these guys got to put their foot on the gas pedal and don't just sit there. Go block him. Continue to block him. Continue to strain to stay connected and sustain those blocks. And then Brock, that's all he needs is a half a step. Another half a tick, and then he'll be across the line of scrimmage. I think that'll be a big part of this game is Brock's mobility, being able to get away before one of those guys can fall off and get to him. I think having Trent is obviously huge, having him back in the lineup. Just his mentality, his skill set, his level of play, this has been one of his best years, believe it or not, and he's been great, and he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. So to have him back, I think, is absolutely huge from an emotional standpoint and from an execution standpoint from the offensive line. Burford's going to brawl. Brendel has been playing really good football, and he'll have his hands full with Byron Murphy on the inside. That little guy he's not very big. He's a fire hydrant, but he gets off blocks. He's strong. He plays with a low pad level. But if you watch the tape, you can move him out on some of the double team stuff. And then, of course, Leonard and all the slants and all the stuff that he does, he's going to be a handful. And then the way that they attack with their linebackers, they're not a lot of times they're playing against the scheme. They're not playing greaseboard football where the Will was supposed to be here and now he's not. Now it's a Mike folding over the top. So they'll throw a lot of wrinkles at you that'll keep you off balance. Is there going to be is there going to be 200 yards rushing in this game? Probably not. But there's got to be enough where they can get the play action going, and then you've heard Kyle say it, you've heard me say it all year long. Volume runs come when you convert on third down. You do not want to be in 3rd and 6 plus a steady diet of that against this group, or it'll replicate what it looked like Week 18. That cannot happen.
Yeah, their defense. I mean, Houston's defense in the AFC and this defense in the NFC are the two best, and they're actually they finished up because they held the Niners to 3 points, and Houston gave up a lot at the end of the year.
Right?
They're number one in points allowed per game at 17.2. They're number one on third down defense, and we noted the
number
Niners
one
were,
at preventing explosives.
Just everything. They're the best, and the Niners were just 2 for 9 on third down. Conversely,
now,
you cannot allow them.
Let me just butt in real quick. You wouldn't think this, but there's no doubt it's true. When you look at opposing quarterback rating, Philadelphia is much harder on quarterbacks than the Seattle Seahawks.
That's shocking. That is shocking.
I mean, numbers-wise.
Yeah.
Much different.
Well,
14 touchdowns allowed, 12 interceptions, and a 57% completion percentage.
Yeah.
So
Matthew Stafford's a big part of that, having to face him twice. Philadelphia faced him one time.
Yeah, you're right.
But in any event, on the other side of it, and we heard the 3rd and 17. Wow. You cannot allow a 3rd and 17 on defense. Seattle trucked the 49ers, 39 carries, 180 yards. Walker had 97. Charbonnet had the explosive going the other way, Tim, and the cutback run for the touchdown. The Niners, I think, overall, Saquon had the one early where he got out of contained with Diamador, had the 29-yard rush.
Let me clean that up for Diamador. And I said it in the game, too, that Diamador's got to he's got to stay out there. That was not on Diamador. Now, you'd love to see him make that play. But they're in an offense where Diamador, and you could see right at the end that, and he did get nosy. They don't want him getting into the C-gap that fast. He is a backside C-gap player. Sam Okwanu just got his head buried in the tight end and just drove him too far, playing the physical card, drove him too far down the line of scrimmage. You can do that, but you got to keep your outside arm free that if Saquon bounces, and they love the bounce play. Seattle loves the bounce play.
So Kenneth Walker in particular.
And you go back to the 3rd and 17. I'll tell you exactly what happened on that play. Yes, both linebackers got blocked. Yes, they both got cracked. There was a couple things that really stuck out to me when I went back and watched that tape. Poppin, you can go back and watch it again. I know you have. The backside guard is got to be the guy that's going to get walloped. Yetur Gross-Matos not even in his stance. He's not ready to go. It was a quick snap, 3rd and 17. So he gets nothing on that guard. So there's just no resistance whatsoever. So he takes a flat angle. He's able to out-leverage Wallow on the snap. Tatum could have been faster in terms of the way the delayed crack happened, and they were able to get to him. The biggest thing on that play, and that was Diamador Lenoir's got a crack replace. He's when they crack, and just for the listeners, if you're a corner and your receiver goes to dig out a safety or goes to dig out the nickel corner, that's a crack block. You've got to replace him as the run defender in that area of the field. You cannot just stay back and drift and expect, for the defense and the pursuit to catch up. That's exactly what happened on that play. So and the only reason I say that is it's all fixable.
Yeah.
It's not like they just lined up and said, okay, trucked. We got you. We're blocking you. We're bigger than you. It was none of that. It was just in the moment, guys did not execute. And again, back to execution. Every play, execution. If the guy cracks, replace. Don't drift. And that goes across the board for all players. The big one on the touchdown run with Charbonnet early in the game. They're in a defense, and I've said this on air already a couple times. They're in a gaps defense. It's a short yardage. Everybody's got a gap defense. Everyone was in a gap, but Tatum Bethune is communicating with Upton Stout, and he's at the snap of the ball doesn't execute the play. And he kind of floated over the top. It was stacked up. Charbonnet sees it. These guys will cut back in a hurry. He's downhill. Now I understand why Jair Brown's got to try to get off that block and come inside. There was nobody there. Now, he still, I think, would have been better off, and this will be a big part of this game, is discipline and trust and staying in your gap until the ball, even if the gap's open inside of you, you got to stay there until the ball crosses the line of scrimmage. Because if Jair does stay out there and just play with, it takes a lot of discipline to be able to do that. The ball's cutting inside. You can feel there's nobody there. You got to try to make a play. However, if he just stays out there and it does go up inside and wind back into the C-gap, it's probably at most a 10-yard run. But as soon as he peeled to go do somebody else's job, bang, it bounces around the corner. Now it's a house call. So that's just football. It happens every game to every team. But the great defenses play with discipline and trust the guy next to him is also going to play with discipline. I always played it like this. I'm staying in my house and going to keep it clean until the ball crosses the line of scrimmage. If it's a big gain, the guy that was supposed to, my next door neighbor, he'll get the minus, not me on the grade sheet. You know what I mean?
Do your job. Do your job.
That's really what it comes down to. And that will be huge in this game, the way these guys can bounce and manipulate the line of scrimmage with their vision and their abilities.
All right, a couple of things about this young Niners secondary. And Seattle only got 13 points. Philadelphia only got 19. So the bottom line is they're keeping them out. But the way they use Diamador Lenore, Demo mainly is a left cornerback, taking Charvarius' spot this year on the offensive right, and Renardo Green's on the other side. They were flipping sides a lot. You explained to me that it was boundary versus field and why they did that, where Demo was playing the boundary corner. Why did they do that against Philadelphia? Might they do that against Seattle? And then in the deep secondary, Jair Brown's not probably going to play in this game with a hamstring injury. I know you're hard on Marquise Siegel. You got two young safeties, Mustafa and Siegel, who are both heat-seeking missiles and big-time hitters. How can they cover the post? Do you trust them in center field? So
I do.
Tell me about Demo, how they used him, and what do we expect from Marquise
Well, it looked
Siegel?
like going back and looking at that game, and I didn't notice it until about the 10th play of the game when I think early in that game against Philadelphia, they were on the right hash. Really, maybe the first 8, 9, 10 plays, just the way the game was kind of flowing and rolling out. So he was at his normal left corner spot. Well, then as soon as the ball got placed on the other hash, I'm like, whoa, this is a little different. And then I noticed him over there, and he was definitely playing a lot into the boundary. Now, and I have no idea if they're going to do it this week or not, and I don't know. I mean, I thought he played pretty good, and thank goodness, there was a couple of big drops in that game because that certainly, with A.J. Brown and some of the drops they had went a long way in helping the 49ers do what they did.
Did they do it in that game, Tim, more to match up with A.J. Brown on that side with him?
I think that was part of it, Pop, but I also know that any team that, like the 49ers playing the Seattle Seahawks this week, boundary corner, Devin Witherspoon.
Absolutely.
Playing Philadelphia, boundary corner, Mitchell.
J.C. Horn in Carolina.
J.C. Horn in Carolina. The dogs are always into the boundary. Why are they into the boundary? It's not because, a lot of teams will put their ex-receiver to the weak side, right? The weak side receiver, he's into the boundary. That's the guy that's going to get the more isolated opportunities because a lot of people will have their defense shifted strength-wise to the field. There's just much more room out there, and there's more people out there. So, and I think it's certainly a more high percentage throw for the quarterbacks when you're throwing to the short area of the field, the boundary side of the field, right? There's just not as much space. I like it for a few reasons for defensive backs. And again, I'd never played corner, but I just have watched enough football and understand enough that you're only going to see certain, especially with young corners, you're going to see certain concepts in the boundary. You're not going to really see a lot of trips concepts. I mean, they'll cluster up and make a bunch and stuff like that.
Not enough room there.
There's not enough room. So you get used to playing the same concepts and getting your indicators. I think when you, and same goes for the field. I think when you're playing right and left only, you're seeing everything. You're seeing all the boundary concepts. You're seeing all the field concepts. And I think and again, I've got no confirmation talking to the DB coaches or to Saleh about all this stuff. I don't ask them a lot of football questions, Pop. You know that. I just, that's not my business to do that. I don't want to know the game plans, what guys are doing. I'm not getting in that arena with those guys. But I do know enough football that I can kind of figure out what's going on. Right. And I think especially when you're young, the more you can see, the better you get at defending. And, it's like Rod Marinelli used to say, the great D-line coach, see a lot, see a little, see a lot, see nothing. Because your mind is just, it's a game. It's played from the neck up. So if you can anticipate based on the concepts, the line splits, the formation, why do you think Richard Sherman was so great? Sherman was obviously a really good long corner and had all those skill sets. But Sherm always knew what concepts could hurt him and which ones couldn't. And on the ones that couldn't, guess what he would do? He'd go help somebody else. He'd go undercut other routes. He'd go help in other areas. And it was a huge part of his game because of how prepared he was and what his aptitude was for what was coming. That's defensive football. And the more you can streamline the assignment on and really the plethora of stuff that's coming at you, the more you can digest what's really coming at you and what they're really trying to do. So I like it for that. I don't know if they'll do it versus Seattle, and I do know that there's always more action into the boundary. And if there's anybody on that defense that likes action, it's number 2. And you and I both know away from the action, and probably on that crack replace, he gets a little bit, and a lot of players do. I mean, you're not part of it, and all of a sudden, wow, now it's on. So we might see that, we might not, but I thought it was certainly effective when they did finally do it against the Philadelphia offense.
Did you like Siegel in the post or Malik
I like
Mustafa?
Siegel. I like his foot speed in there. I like his catch-up ability. I love his run fits. Both of those guys run fits. The thing I want to see from Malik is at times be a little more under control. It doesn't always have to be a kill shot. I love that he shoots his gun and fires it, and he goes. And man, is he a quick trigger getting downhill. But there's also a time when you're triggering that you got to break down and be able to wrap a guy up. And what I like about Siegel is he's not afraid to get trucked. And I've always said that about good run defenders is when you played, all those years Marshawn Lynch was taking the league by storm. You hit Marshawn Lynch with a blow-by one-legger, you're not getting him. You got to square up, you got to get in front of him, and you got to be willing to get run over. And Siegel will do that, and he is really, really good at it. So, look, they started 3-0 to start the season with him at safety. He's a good player. He's a young player. He's gotten better as this year goes on. And when you look at last week, when he had to get out there, Jair will be missed, especially in the red zone. Back to the football indicators and what he's been able to do this year. He is a really smart player. I've had a lot of talks with him about what teams try to do. He's like, oh, man, they're running that again. I got it. I mean, he knows. You're going to get in this little 13-personnel bunch set. I know exactly what you're doing. And that's the evolution of becoming a great player and being out there and having enough reps to be able to digest it and see it and then go do it. So he's going to be missed down there. But both of those guys, I think both of those safeties are going to play good because I think there's indicators when you look at these guys and how they play. Seattle. I mean, you watch A.J. Barner, very good tight end. But you turn on the tape, when you're going to see him make his plays on a lot of bootlegs, on a lot of screens. There's certain concepts where he's part of it, but in particular, those two areas is when you better be ready for number 88.
We'll wrap this up when we come on back. Final thoughts for the football hour, key players, key facets of the game, and maybe another Tim Ryan prediction that comes true about starting the game off fast or something. Stay tuned. Or something.
Anything.
It's the football hour. We'll wrap it up on the Sports Leader.
Time for your Bay Area Chevy dealers traffic update. faithful. This hour, we go from snap to whistle.
It's the mindset of full speed, nonstop, snap to whistle.
This is Tim Ryan's Bull Rush with Papa and Silver on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Wrapping up the football hour here with Tim Ryan. It is on in Seattle again. Twice the Seahawks have put up 13 points against the 49ers. One was a 17-13 win back in week 1. And then a couple of weeks ago, 13-3 Seattle right here at Levi's. That's why they got the rest, the number 1 seed. That's why the 49ers are getting ready to travel. And for the third time in 4 weeks, they're going on the short week. So hyperbaric chamber, extra sleep on the plane, whatever these guys ultimately want to do. When that clock strikes 5 o'clock on Saturday night, it's going to be ready to go.
It's going to be awesome. Earn the opportunity to play these guys again. And the way the season finished, they are relishing this opportunity. And yes, Seattle's rested. Yes, they are a very good team on both sides of the ball. The players and the numbers bear it out. I think a couple of things, big picture, Pop, that are super important in this game. You know, number one, Brock's never lost at Lumen. So he's got to handle the crowd noise, and he is so good at it. And it is going to be a crazy atmosphere here in the divisional playoff. You know, lose, go home. And Seattle's got all the pressure on them as the number 1 seed. Of course, the way the game went last time. But I think at the end of the day, this game is going to come down to the play at the line of scrimmage, as it typically does, and who can control the clock and who can control the football. It's really that simple. Brock, this team will not be able to, I don't think, will be able to win this game at -2 in the takeaway like they were at Philadelphia. I just don't. I think this offense will be able to capitalize more on those opportunities. I just don't see that as part of a winning equation. So if you see it, it's open, rip it, and Brock's going to have to rip some tight balls. There's no question with the way that they play coverage. Continue to use his legs to extend plays and protect the football, and then the play calling and the execution, I think, is going to be there. There's going to be no secrets in this game. And then defensively, I think the big thing is all the stuff we talked about of playing with discipline and you know, trust in the run game. They can match up versus this offensive line. Believe me. Jordan Elliott, Big Alfred inside, who's playing good football. C.J. West went east and played his ass off at Philadelphia. Now C.J. West going north. Just point the compass, man. Just follow the heading, and he's going to be fine. Kalia can get knocked back. He can get it and can impact those plays on the inside. This game will be snuffed out in the run game from the inside out. Then it's about edges and discipline and eyes. And Keon White. How big was that sack by Keon White at the end of that game?
Huge.
It was a -1, but
yeah.
Jalen Hurts got that ball inside the 10-yard line if he doesn't make that play.
By the way, pretty similar part of the field where Jalen Carter saved their season last year.
You're absolutely right. So, and Keon, I think, is going to be a week healthier, hopefully, with his knee and his hamstring. Hopefully, Ricky plays. Trent is going to play. Fred is going to be a TBD, but I feel fine with Kendricks out there. He's not Fred Warner, but he's a veteran player that has played up there more than once in big games. So this is a big-time moment. They've got to be able to contain the run game. Those running backs force more missed tackles than anybody. I think K9 is number 1. I think Charbonnet is number 3 at forcing missed tackles. This game's going to come down to blocking and tackling. Back to football 101 and the football basics. And then it's mano-a-mano, and may the best team win. We haven't talked about special teams. That'll be a big part of this game. They're really good with their return game and their coverage units. Hopefully Gifford can get back in the mix. I think he was really missed at Philadelphia and what he means to that special teams unit. But this is going to be a 4-quarter cage match, man. It's going to be a 60-minute all-out grinder.
The brawl for it all,
the brawl
as you dubbed it. But this one's really for it all, and we call it every year the battle with Seattle. But now we got a Chapter 3. This is NFL history. Never before have two teams met in the season opener, week 1, and we know the Niners won that, 17-13. The last game of the year, and Seattle won that 13-3, and then also met in the playoffs. Never happened before. First game, last game, playoff game.
How about the NFC West, 40-7 against the rest of the NFL?
I mean, to have 3 teams win 12 games this year, and obviously with a playoff success, arguably, as you have called it, the NFC best is the NFC West. We know, and you were talking about the Niners didn't when they run 42 plays against Seattle 2 weeks ago.
173 yards.
They didn't get to enough of the plays.
They didn't play good enough in any phase,
They did
Pop,
not.
to be able
So
to get to
there's
their blueprint.
more there. We
Way
know
more.
from Kyle. What do you expect from Clint Kubiak, from Mike McDonald? Do they need to I mean, you got to change. They haven't played a game since. Do they line up and play like this is the 5th quarter from January the 3rd? What do you expect from them in this game?
Yeah, well, it worked. There's going to be wrinkles on both sides, but in reality, teams are who they are. They run what they run. They're going to stay committed to the run game. They cranked out 39 runs against the 49ers, Week 18. They know the keep-away game. They beat the 49ers in Week 18 with the 49er blueprint. So they know what they want to do. That's why we can talk about, what's this wrinkle going to be? Are they going to come out and now play a lot of 13 personnel? Or are the 49ers going to line up in a lot of 11 with Ricky back, no George? Is Christian going to go to the slot? There's a lot of things you could try to think that are going to happen. At the end of the day, this is, as I started with and I'll finish with, it is mano a mano. Somebody's going to be left standing and somebody's going to be going home, and it's going to come down to who wants to win the fight in the phone booth versus the guy across from you. This is going to be a one-on-one game. The way they stack the front, the offensive line is going to be in a lot of one-on-one with their elite players up front. The receivers in the corners are going to be in a lot of one-on-ones in terms of that matchup. There's going to be times when you're sitting in the C gap or you're out in the D gap, and here comes Kenneth Walker. Guess what? It's one-on-one in space. Can you make the play? It's really that simple. Who wins the most matchups and takes the will and executes versus the guy across from him is going to end up winning this football game.
To symbolize what the 49ers season has been and the fact that they are playing in this game in the first place, they've passed a lot of tests. They have had to pass test after test after test. So I don't want to go brawl for it all because that didn't work out so well a couple of weeks ago. This is the Northwest test for the 49ers.
Northwest test.
I like that.
I do like that. It is a big test. And it's a pass or fail too. There won't even be a letter. There won't even be a letter. I like pass or fail better than the letter grade attached to it.
Just scrape by with a C-.
Yeah, whatever.
We're not going to summer school,
fail.
I'll tell you that.
Pass, fail. It's that simple. I like that. The Northwest test. It's going to be a great football game. Going to be a great atmosphere. The 49ers have been playing with house money most of the year when you consider all the circumstances, and what a hell of a year for Kyle and Robert and those guys coaching and all their position coaches. This one's coming down to the players. Who wants it more? Who can do right longer? And all the pressure's on Seattle now. And Pop, you would agree, as the number 1 seed. How does Sam Darnold do if they can contain the run game with all that pressure of having to hitch, get to read number 2, get to read number 3? I don't know if he's ever won a playoff game. I'm not sure that he has.
He has not.
So big moment for him. I got a lot of respect for him, and I got a lot of respect for his arm talent and what he is as a quarterback and as a person and as a leader. But there are times when you watch him on tape, because of his arm talent and because of his belief in his skill set, he'll play some hero ball. And instead of taking a sack or throwing the ball away, he'll try to extend. He'll try to rip it. He leads the league in giveaways.
Turnovers.
49ers have got to be able to take advantage of that, and that starts by containing their run game.
You're the best, and I'm not going to say this is the last one.
No, we're doing it again.
We're doing it again.
And again.
Worked last week.
And again.
Run it back.
Doing this all the way to a parade in mid-February.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
How you doing, Pop? You good?
I'm great, bro.
You look great.
You know what?
Great.
I know we're waiting on Fred, but I got good news from the doc. Niners win this game on Sunday. I'm cleared to return for a championship game, no matter where it is, L.A. or Chicago.
The window's open?
A window is open. You can activate me. I know I came out for one game only and went back out. I had a reoccurring. And then there's Super Bowl. So
awesome.
I like Eric Kendricks. Stop talking about the championship game. We still got to win this game on Saturday night, but it's all systems go, bro.
All right. Much love, bro. And
Love you.
I'm fired up for you. Love you. Silver, we'll do it again next